What's going on YouTube? So the Highlander name needs no introduction since it has been one of the best-selling SUVs in America for decades. But a few years ago, with the Grand Highlander upstaging it, it was clear it was time for the Highlander itself to make a change. And that change arrives right now. This is the all-new 2027 Highlander, which is packing some of the biggest changes in this model's history. So is this longer, wider, more powerful Highlander the best one yet? Well, let's go ahead and take a detailed first look to find out. Now, a great place to start things off is going to be here with the exterior design. You can tell right off the bat that things have changed a lot for this Highlander model. This is really going to be a lot more of an aerodynamic design overall. The vehicle itself is wider than the previous generation, and I think it gives it a very substantial look as well. So up here in the front, the grille is going to be very, very simple, not a lot going on at all. The main characteristic really is going to be the lighting signature. So you'll see that we've got this full-length light bar that runs all the way across the front. Over here on the side, like many of the recent Toyota products, we have our daytime running light and turn signal indicator going through there. And then the headlight unit itself is separated down here in the middle. This is a projector LED. It is going to be standard on both trim levels that this model will come in. That's right, there's only going to be two trim levels. It's going to be XLE and limited trims, and visually they're going to look very similar to one another. Moving on to the wheels, you're going to have a couple different selections on this front. We have 19-inch alloys on the XLE, and then you can also get 22-inch alloys on the limited trim. Now, as far as our wheel arches, you can see these are fully body colored, although you do have some molding down here at the bottom in a kind of interesting shape. As far as the mirrors are concerned, they're blacked out. They're going to come standard with all the main features you're looking for, including heating, blind spot monitoring, and power folding. Now, you heard me mention that this Highlander is larger than ever. Actually, it's coming in just under 199 inches long, which makes it a very similar length overall to the Grand Highlander. Now, it is going to be shorter, though, than the previous generations, as you can see, and it is also wider, as I mentioned earlier, giving it definitely an interesting stance overall compared to the previous Highlander models. Now, over here with our door handles, you can see we got this flush mount door handle. One thing I will point out, though, is that on the limited trim, you can get an optional two-tone finish on your roof. Now, as we walk around to the back, I think this is where things change the most radically, because compared to the front design, which we've kind of seen applied to other Toyota products, this looks extremely original. So again, you can see that very wide look. Toyota has really emphasized that with this full-length light bar that runs across the back here. This, of course, is a full LED taillight cluster. And then you'll notice that the turn signal is down here in its own little triangular-shaped unit way out on the far edge. Now, as far as the badging, you can see we got a lot of badging going on through here, including Highlander kind of offset over there on the left-hand side. I think I would have liked that maybe spelled out across the back. It would have been a more symmetrical look. And then down here in your lower area, of course, a very simple overall fascia. We do not have any information about towing at this time. Now, we want to take a quick look at the fully spec'd limited as well, because it really does look a lot different than the trim that we've been showing you for the most of this video. As you can see, one of the big characteristics of this design, I think, boils down to the wheels. So these are those optional 22-inch alloys I was mentioning earlier. We've got a really cool looking contrast design, and I really think this makes all the difference because it really fills out those wheel wells better and gives it more of a stance overall. Now, the other thing that I want to point out is this is the two-tone roof that I was mentioning, and as you can see, this overall design, I think, makes it look a lot sleeker. It kind of blends in with the rear and really adds to that overall aggression that you see. And finally, in terms of safety, Toyota says that this new Highlander will come with the latest Safety Sense 4.0. So it's going to have all the latest and greatest technologies, including traffic jam assist. It is also going to have a standard drive recorder built in. But everything radical is not just on the outside. There's a lot to talk about on the inside as well. So let's get into that. But first,
if you're new here, we're brothers and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we've reviewed over 2,000 cars at every price point. And if you want to know about all the latest and greatest rides, then make sure to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the newest cars. All right, now let's check out the interior. Of course, as you saw earlier, we have these unique flush mount door handles, so you just kind of go inside there and pinch that to open up the door. And then let's check out the interior. Like I was saying earlier, there's a lot of radical differences from any previous Highlander you've ever seen before. But before we get into all those individual differences, we'll start off with the seats. So both of the trims of this model will come with Softex leatherette. However, on the limited trim you see today, this is going to give you the most advanced look in terms of your stitching details. We've got this really nice looking pattern here with perforation running through it. There's a few different colors you can choose from, and we also have the color contrast piping down the sides. I think everything in here feels nice and realistic overall. The seats themselves are of course going to be power adjusting, and we have memory seats which are located right there on the door trim. But let's go ahead and climb inside so we can get into all the details. I'll also give you a quick look at the fully spec'd limited interior as well. Looking at the seats, you can see we have this light gray color with this really nice looking perforation design, including over on the bolsters. It's really a nice overall look, and the seats themselves feel nice and comfortable. This also has the two-tone interior, including with our steering wheel. I think that is another element that adds to the overall luxury appearance on the inside. Now, the first detail I want to get into is the overall material quality. So in addition to having a unique design, we've got some unique patterns going on. We have a Softex leatherette down here on the armrest, and then through the center section, you'll see a leatherette, and it's got this kind of lined design. I think this looks pretty cool overall. Soft touch material through there and soft touch material on the top of the dashboard. As we move up here, you're going to see that we've got a textured soft touch material through here. More of this kind of silver trim that wraps around the whole vehicle. This center section here will be covered in a leatherette. And then down here on our lower panels, this will also be covered in a leatherette. I will say that all the main touch points are soft touch and everything feels very solid, especially for a prototype vehicle. Now, the push button start on this model is located in an interesting place. It's right there in the center. Now that we have it started up here, we can look at some of the technology on board. So we'll start with the gauge cluster. We've got this 12.3-inch gauge cluster, and this is the new type of gauge cluster that just came out on the all-new RAV4. It's got a lot more designs and stuff that you can choose from overall, and the graphics are very nice and vivid. Speaking of vivid, check out this head-up display. This might be the nicest head-up display I've seen on any Toyota or Lexus product. It's a huge HUD, and it's going to be available on the limited trim. You've got rain-sensing wipers, and as we take a look at the steering wheel, we have a new Toyota design here. It's going to be wrapped in leatherette, of course. The wheel itself is manual, tilt, and telescoping, and heating is also available. Now, let's take a look at interior storage. So as I open this up, you'll see inside we've got a little tray here. I can also remove that, and then when I do that, wow, look how deep that is. Definitely a lot of storage, as we expect from the Highlander. It's always been really good at that. We have some really deep cup holders here, and it looks like you can even add an extension if you want your cup a little bit higher. As we move into this area, we've got this huge center pass-through, which is going to give you a lot of flexibility overall. No passenger storage shelf, though, like the Grand Highlander. I kind of would like to see that. And then this right here I want to talk about. So this is actually a dual wireless phone charging setup. Toyota has covered this in a suede material. I think that's going to be able to keep your phone in place a little bit better than some of their past systems overall. Now, as you can see behind that, we've got a little toggle design for our shifter and a good spot for your hand. When you go into reverse, you're going to see a 360-degree camera system, or at least you will when you don't have the prototype model. Not everything, obviously, today is going to be working properly. Now, the vent details, you can see they're very low profile, but you still have a physical control here to actually point them. And then you have a thin little strip of some buttons for various different settings. Another thing I'm happy to see is we've got a physical volume knob. A JBL sound system will be optional on both the XLE and the limited trim levels, but of course we're on a bit of a time constraint today and the system is not fully configured to pair a device and sample the audio today. Now, also, this is something that we have seen just now be introduced in the all-new RAV4, but the climate controls are partially in the display for this new Highlander. You've got these little toggles here to adjust the temperature. The rest of the functions will be actually inside of the display itself. This is a 3-zone automatic climate system, and overall, it's fairly simple to use. Now, also in this same little region here, you'll notice that we have heated seats. Of course, that is going to be a standard feature on all models, and then seat ventilation is available here on the limited trim level. Now, the rest of the display, this is a 14-inch display, and just like I was saying with the gauge cluster, it has the latest and greatest Toyota software. This is their all-new infotainment system, which includes things like what you're seeing right here, a full home screen. I will say the graphics on this look very vivid overall, and even in prototype form, everything that I click on seems to load up quite quickly. And you do have some additional information for the powertrain as well. Up top here, you'll find an auto-dimming rear view mirror with HomeLink universal remotes. This is also a digital camera rear view mirror in case the back window gets obstructed. And then lastly here, you'll notice that we actually do not have a sunroof. That's something that Toyota is making optional on both of the trim levels. Now let's check out the back seats. So as you can see, I'm now inside of the back seats here, and I have plenty of space. I just have to be vague because we don't have any official measurements just yet, and we're on a lot of a time constraint right here, so I'm not going to be able to measure this myself. But I have to say, I'm very comfortable, and I can really put my feet underneath the seat. Also, I've got some USBs back there in the back of those seats there, and you also have heated back seats on the limited trim, as well as your climate controls located right there. You can see that we've got the captain's chair arrangement. You can also get a bench seat if you prefer that. And I have to say, overall, this is pretty comfortable. Another thing I like is the fact that we've got the rear window sunshades, and the materials follow through from the front with the same high quality look. Now with the extra length, you're probably wondering, how good is the third row? Let's check it out. So when I press that button there, that will just fold the seat out of the way. And this is my first time back here, guys, so this will be a true first impression. All right. So one thing I noticed, I don't know if this is production or not, but the seats are very, just bland. There's nothing going on there with these, but overall, the space is not bad with the leg room. This is actually the seat slid all the way back, and I have a little bit of extra knee room. I can move my feet underneath of this seat as well, so I'm relatively comfortable. I will say there's not a lot of thigh support, so in comparison to like the Grand Highlander, if you were to be cross-shopping these in the future, that is going to be the more comfortable option. You do have vents up there at the top, and you have USBs on both sides, as well as a nice leather pad here on the armrest portion. Now let's check out the cargo area. I'll go ahead and pop this open. Of course, it's a hands-free power tailgate, as you'd expect. And let's check out how much space we have. I actually do have some official cargo capacities from Toyota to share with you guys. So behind the third row, we're looking at 15.9 cubic feet. And then if we fold the third row down, that's going to expand to 45.6 cubic feet. Now, Toyota did not provide a full figure if all the seats are folded down, as in the third and second row. But overall, compared to the previous generation of the Highlander, that is going to be a little bit less. And if you're comparing to that Grand Highlander I mentioned earlier, that will be about 12 cubic feet less behind the second row. I'll go ahead and fold this seat down real fast and give you kind of a look at what that looks like. There we go. So overall, you can see that it is fairly spacious, but also on the sides here, it's a little bit narrower, and I think that's probably where you lose quite a bit of space. Now, as far as some other features to look at, we got this nice pit over here. If I open this up, you have a lot more underfloor storage as well. There doesn't appear there will be a spare tire on this model, and I also don't see any handles in the back to fold those second row seats down. But now let's get into what is undoubtedly one of the biggest changes about this all-new Highlander. And that is the fact that this is a battery electric product. So of course, all the previous generations have been conventional gas-powered models. They've had V6 engines, turbo 4-cylinders, or hybrid powertrains. And now we have changed to a full electric powertrain for this rebirth of the Highlander. Now, as far as some specifications on that, there's going to be two different battery capacities. You're going to have a 77 kilowatt hour lithium-ion battery pack as your base model. And then you also have the availability of a 95.8 kilowatt hour lithium-ion battery pack. Now, this will also be offered in front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. And it's going to depend on your two different trim levels. So XLE will be available with both front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive, and then the Limited is just all-wheel drive exclusively. Now with front-wheel drive, the power is going to be 221 horsepower, and if you choose all-wheel drive, that's going to take you up to 338 horsepower because, of course, that is now a dual-motor all-wheel drive system. Now there's a lot of range numbers as well. Of course, that's very important for an EV. And we'll put those on the screen right now depending on which configuration you choose. But as far as the maximum amount you could expect, that is 320 miles. And as far as some other things to know, this can charge with DC fast charging 10 to 80% in about 30 minutes. Also, this is going to be the very first Toyota EV that's capable of vehicle-to-load. So this will actually be able to perhaps power your appliances or your home in the event of a power outage. And of course, this also has the NACS charger. Now, this is a very early first look at this prototype model. And of course, we will be covering this very extensively when it goes on sale in the future. So make sure you stay tuned to our channel when we're actually able to take this out on the road and fully test it out. Now, of course, at this point, you might be wondering what is the price on something like this? Well, of course, this is very early on, so Toyota has not released any official pricing. However, we can estimate a price based on the nearest competition. Based on the Ioniq 9 as well as the Kia EV9, we're estimating this will start at about $59,000 for the base XLE trim level and will probably top out into the $70,000 range if you get that Limited with all the options. Now, this is going to go on sale in late 2026 and some models into early 2027. So you got a little bit of a wait before you can pick one of these up at your dealership. And it is going to be built in America at TMMK, so right in our stomping grounds in Kentucky. Now, guys, we hope you enjoyed this detailed first look at this all-new 2027 Toyota Highlander. This really is a radical change from the previous generations of this model. And if you enjoyed getting this exclusive first look at this model, we would appreciate if you went down below and clicked subscribe. When you subscribe, that tells automakers that you appreciate our content, and that's why we get to be invited to places like this to be some of the first people in the world to see this new Highlander. If you're already a fan and subscriber, we appreciate your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.